Hello everyone, welcome to Justice Connect's webinar tonight. Tonight's webinar will be on our specialised service providing legal help to small businesses, farms, sole traders and primary producers across Australia. Our senior lawyer, Emma Ryan, will take you through the nitty-gritty of our service and how we can support either people you're supporting or you as an individual with a business or farm. At the end of the presentation, you'll have an opportunity to ask your questions, and you can ask questions throughout the whole presentation using slido.com. So if you head on to slido.com and enter the hashtag JusticeConnect, you'll be able to ask your questions throughout the presentation, and then I will take the lead and ask those questions. I'll ask Emma those questions on your behalf. As always, before we start our presentation, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the lands in which we're broadcasting from. That's the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nations and the Gadigal peoples of the Eora Nation. I want to pay my respects to elders past and present and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. So that means that this land has always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Now over to you, Emma Ryan. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Rouge. Hi, everyone. And thank you very much for joining us today. It's great to be spending some time with you virtually. As Rouge mentioned, I'm a senior lawyer at Justice Connect and I coordinate our work assisting communities affected by natural disasters. The purpose of today's session is to introduce you to Justice Connect, talk through the legal impacts of natural disasters and the work that we do to respond. And that's including through our natural disaster community support program. I'll share some stories of people that we've helped and let you know how you can apply for help or refer someone and what happens from there. We'll also provide information on where else you can get help. As Rouge said, we'll have time for questions at the end, so please submit them on slido.com. Also, the session will be recorded and available on our website if you want to catch it again or share with someone who might be interested. So, a little about Justice Connect. In the face of rising levels of unmet legal need, we design and we deliver high-impact interventions to increase access to legal support and progress social justice. We're a not-for-profit legal services organisation and charity with 30 years of experience providing free legal help to individuals and community organisations. We connect people and community organisations with free legal help via our in-house legal services and through our network of 10,000 pro bono lawyers, while also advocating for fairer laws and better systems design. We also partner with other organisations with free legal help, to provide coordinated and meaningful free legal help to communities in crisis. And that's what brings us here today, to share how we can help you if you live or work in a community that's been impacted by natural disaster. Unfortunately, we know that when natural disasters occur, existing legal problems can get worse and new legal problems emerge. We've also seen some people and communities who've rarely dealt with the legal system suddenly impacted by a whole raft of legal, financial, and social issues as a result of disasters. Our disaster response work began with the 2009 Black Saturday bushfires in Victoria. Within 2 days of that disaster, when sadly 173 people lost their lives and many more homes were destroyed, Bushfire Legal Help was formed with Justice Connect as one of the key partners alongside Victoria Legal Aid and other legal organisations to help with the maze of legal issues left in the wake of the bushfires. Justice Connect mobilised hundreds of pro bono lawyers and barristers to assist affected Victorians, with over 180 of them being connected with free legal help. Following the crisis, Bushfire Legal Help published an evaluation report, which you can see quoted here, and found that whilst the more immediate issues related to insurance, property and estate issues, the longer-term recovery and rebuilding process brought a whole range of more complex issues. And these related to planning, rebuilding, and dealing with local government authorities. They're highly specialised areas of law requiring particular expertise. The partnership also saw an emerging need to help clients with building and construction issues because as survivors turn to rebuilding, they're faced with complicated building contracts and permit application processes. The report also found that a further wave of legal problems more subtly connected to the bushfires was likely to arise. Similar findings emerged out of the 2019-2020 bushfires. The Royal Commission into National Natural Disaster Arrangements, which followed that crisis, set out 80 recommendations to improve Australia's national natural disaster response, including the importance of having NGOs and charities involved in the provision of legal help to be included in recovery planning responses because of the long tail that we see with legal impacts coming out of disasters. These bushfires highlighted the huge challenges posed to individuals, communities, businesses, and governments to withstand and rebuild from natural disasters. In 2019, the cost of insurance claims arising from the bushfires surpassed $2 billion. So that gives some indication of the significant toll that that disaster had. Getting legal help early can help manage these issues before they escalate. And getting legal help doesn't mean that you need to go to court or take action against someone. It can mean getting one-off advice on your rights so that you know what next steps that you can take. Knowing what you can or can't do can take away that uncertainty and the stress that can really come with that. And in some cases, you may want to take action. And the sooner that you have the right advice, the more likely you're in a position to resolve the issue. And that's really why we do this work. We think access to legal help is really important for communities' recovery. So as I mentioned, Justice Connect's work began in response to the bushfires in Victoria in 2009, working alongside other legal organisations as a member of Bushfire Legal Help. And that's now called Disaster Legal Help Victoria. And then our work expanded to assisting with a disaster that crossed state lines with the 2019-2020 bushfires, primarily across New South Wales and Victoria. In New South Wales, we're now a key referral partner for the Disaster Legal Help Service in New South Wales. And with compounding disasters, we've pivoted again to assisting with all natural disasters, including the floods in New South Wales and storms in WA. To give you a sense, I guess, of our experience and the work that we did during the recent bushfires, within a week of the crisis escalating in early January 2020, Justice Connect was coordinating the pro bono response to the bushfires using our pro bono portal, a platform through which we match legal need with our network of 50-member pro bono law firms. And by the end of January 2020, we'd onboarded an additional 110 firms to the pro bono portal. We adapted our referrer tool to provide a tailored pathway for frontline organisations to send people to Justice Connect to be connected with a pro bono lawyer. And this technology has now allowed us to pivot our response to other rising legal needs in an era of climate crises. Because people, as we've talked about, are now experiencing consecutive disasters, and we need to be flexible as a legal services organisation to coordinate support for communities who are living through this kind of disruption. So what we do when a disaster hits and into the recovery period is coordinate pro bono resources and provide legal help to affected communities, including individuals, small businesses, farms, and community organisations. We engage with frontline services and organisations to reach and provide help remotely to the people who need it most. We use the digital infrastructure, like I was talking about with our award-winning pro bono portal, to support a flexible and coordinated response from our network of lawyers and barristers. We also publish resources and build digital tools to help people navigate the law and get better outcomes. So how we help, we can help small businesses, farms and primary producers negatively impacted by the bushfires and floods struggling to resolve a legal problem by connecting them to a lawyer for legal advice or representation for a range of issues, including, but not limited to, business insurance coverage and claims. We've heard of many cases where there are disputes with the insurer about what's covered and what's not. For example, during the bushfires, we spoke to one person whose primary production business lost stock because of runoff from the firefighting effort nearby, but only equipment loss was covered under the policy that they had. Fencing and disputes is another issue that can commonly arise with neighbouring farms, and we also can arrange advice around reconstruction of destroyed land. Commercial leases and property, credit and debt, and also contracts that might have been impacted by disasters, for example, between a primary producer and a farmer's market. I'd like to take a moment to share with you briefly 2 stories of people that we've helped. Jan ran a hairdressing business in a regional town of New South Wales, leasing the salon for around $2,500 a month. Jan sublet part of the premises to a shoe repairer. They just made a verbal agreement and all was going okay until the bushfires of November, December 2019, when Jan had to close the salon because the area was under threat. And Jan started to fall behind on rent. In January 2020, the landlord locked Jan out of the premises because she'd not paid her rent for a few weeks. But the shoe repairer was still able to get in and actually began paying rent to the landlord directly. Some of Jan's property and equipment was thrown outside, and some of it taken by people who visited the premises. She sent a letter of demand requesting payment for the lost and stolen goods, totaling around $10,000, and just got no reply. We were able to connect Jan with a law firm for advice on her entitlements to reclaim what was owed to her for the damaged stolen goods and advice on her rights as a tenant. Jan has been relying on temporary Centrelink payments since early January last year and hasn't been able to get her business up and running since then. So getting this advice will help her understand her rights and options so that she can get back on her feet. Trevor is a mechanic who also ran a small business from his residential property selling farming equipment, camper vans and cars. Around the same time, in early December 2019, his property was damaged by a bushfire. His losses included farming equipment and all the things that he was stocking on the land, and it was worth over $1 million. This couldn't have come at a worse time for Trevor because he wasn't insured and he was already in debt for around $700,000, having entered into a high interest loan with a private lender to help build his business. And due to the loss of stock from the fire, he now had no means of repaying the loan. We connected Trevor with a law firm to negotiate with the lender to reach a fair settlement. And on investigating the issue a bit further, the law firm found that the loan might not be enforceable. And the firm got some specialist advice from one of our pro bono barristers on their chances of success with this claim. And the lawyer assisting is working hard to get a good outcome for Trevor, who said it's been top-notch having professional legal help to help with an issue that might otherwise spiral out of control. So hopefully that's given you some insight into the type of assistance that we can provide. If you're interested in applying and wondering if your business is likely to be eligible, or you know of someone that that might need this kind of help. We'll let you know that we don't apply a strict means test to small businesses with legal issues linked to the bushfires or floods. Our key concern is whether your small business or organisation can afford the assistance that you need within the time frame that you need it. If you answer yes to most of the questions that are on the slide here, then you're likely to be eligible for free help through our service. To apply, the best way to do that is to apply online using our special page for small businesses affected by natural disasters, or you can just navigate to it from our homepage where you'll see the flagged question, "Are you affected by the floods?" with the link for small businesses below. Our online tools are interactive and they have logic within them. So the information that you get asked and the options presented to you will depend on the information that you provide at each step. But generally speaking, you'll be asked to provide some contact information, some information about whether you can pay for legal help, and a brief description of your issue and how you'd like us to contact you. If you're a professional and would like to refer someone, you can also use our warm referral tool by selecting the button on our website that says, "I need to refer someone." Once you apply online for help, our team will contact you within 2 to 3 business days to find out more about your legal problem, to work out how we can help. We'll then work to connect you with one of our pro bono law firms with the right expertise and experience to assist with whatever the type of legal issue involved is. We're prioritising our disaster response work because we know that communities are dealing with compounding issues, and we'll do our best to connect you with a lawyer as soon as we can. And if you're not eligible for some reason, we'll let you know where else you might be able to get help. So this program supporting small business owners and farmers was originally launched in New South Wales. And while we've been able to broaden our support to small businesses and farms across Australia, the organisations that are shown here on the slide can also support you in New South Wales specifically. Under Legal Aid New South Wales Bushfire Legal Aid Scheme, small businesses and farmers with legal issues related to the 2019-2020 bushfires can apply through their lawyer for funding to assist with their legal costs. Financial Rights Legal Centre is a community legal centre providing specialist insurance, banking and debt advice, as well as legal representation to businesses impacted by floods or bushfires. You can also approach your local council. We've reached out to all the LGAs impacted by the floods to let them know how we can help in their local community, and can work with caseworkers and other professionals to connect you with a lawyer remotely. We'll share a copy of this table with all the attendees of this webinar, or you can find it on our natural disaster community support page. That's really it from me, other than to answer any questions that you might have, and Rouge is popping back in to help with that.
Thanks, Emma. So we've got a couple of questions. There are a couple of questions that we've received that are based on people's individual experiences, and unfortunately we can't give any legal advice. So the best thing you can do is make an application online. It takes less than 8 minutes, and as Emma explained, when you apply for legal help on justiceconnect.org.au/disaster support, it has logic frameworks and outlines, so it will respond to the information that you and then one of our members in our legal team will be in touch to check your eligibility and let you know what your next steps are. There's a couple of really key questions about definitions. There is one person asking, "I'm thinking of referring a family member, but could you clarify who qualifies as a primary producer?"
That's a good question. So generally we're considering anyone who works on a farm or works in some other primary production industry. So it could be in, for example, a seafood farm or anything like that. We don't have a strict definition that we're applying. So I would suggest just applying or referring them, sorry, and then we can touch base with them. And if we're not the right service to fit, we can certainly connect them with another one.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one person who just caught the last bit of our presentation tonight, and they were wondering if we only assist small businesses or do we also assist individuals and families?
Yes, we definitely assist individuals, families, and also community organisations. The focus of this talk today was on small businesses and farms, primary producers, but absolutely individuals as well. And last year, following the bushfire crisis, we assisted, I would say the majority were individuals and families affected by the bushfires. So if you go to our website, the button's right there for applying for help, and there'll be a question about whether you're impacted by a disaster.
So just go on to justiceconnect.org.au and there's a big button that says I need help. And so you can just get guided through that whole application process. And the same deal, one of our members of our legal team will be in touch, and we're prioritizing people affected by disasters. There is one question. How do you connect people to a lawyer who live remotely and may not have a secure phone or internet line?
Yeah, okay. Well, in that situation, we work with whoever the individual or small business is to work out what might work in their situation, because I find that really depends on what's happening at home and what other places are you visiting. We have good connections with local councils and other frontline services in communities. So we can work with them to figure out a solution that works in that case, because totally appreciate that that's not always possible from wherever you're living. So please just let us know and we'll work something out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And our 50 pro bono law firm members are very, very passionate about responding to people affected by natural disasters and making sure that pro bono is being provided to people with the highest needs. So whatever it takes, we'll make sure that it happens. There's a couple of questions around what natural disasters and areas of natural disasters this type of help is provided, and what, where a small business or farm needs to be located to access this kind of help.
Yeah, your small business or farm doesn't need to be particularly located anywhere other than where a natural disaster has impacted the area. So if you tell us you're from an area that's been affected by a bushfire or a flood or a cyclone, whatever the climate crisis has been, then you'll be eligible for assistance, unless there's some other factor that means we're not the right service for you. But yeah, we can generally assist with any natural disaster.
And there's one question around if droughts are considered natural disasters. Does it have to be an incident level natural disaster, or can it be an ongoing natural disaster?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I guess to date, predominantly we've assisted with incident-based natural disasters. But I think it would be great for you to get in touch and we can talk it through, because it will depend on, the impacts that has had with you. And I guess important to remember too that we assist individuals and families and community groups with a range of issues, just generally through our general free legal assistance services. So you may qualify under that. But if it's a small business or a farm and it's a business specific issue, then it does need to have a connection to a natural disaster. But depending on the circumstances, we can talk through whether that's a fit for this service.
And like we said, we launched this specific program in New South Wales in partnership with Legal Aid and Financial Rights Community Legal Centre. And this is just one example of the types of services that we provide. And if we can't help you, we have a robust network that we can refer you onto. One last question before we end tonight, and thank you so much for everyone joining us. This video will be uploaded to our website, especially our natural disaster community support page that you can find at justiceconnect.org.au/disaster support, or you can find it on our YouTube channel. We have one last question around sole traders. A lot of sole traders don't consider themselves small business, but are they considered for this specific program?
Yes, that's the answer.
So don't be afraid if you're potentially a graphic designer or a writer and a natural disaster has affected your ability to conduct your business, and you have a legal problem that's affecting your business, you can still apply using our online application process. Thank you so much, and thank you, Emma, for your wonderful presentation. If you want to get in touch, please don't hesitate to apply at justiceconnect.org.au/disaster support, and keep in conversation with us by subscribing to our mailing list as well. You can find that on our website.